Building an AI that can answer one question, that's one thing. But what about an AI that can run a whole project? One that can actually reason, delegate tasks, and see a complex job all the way through. For a long time, that meant writing just mountains of code. But what if it didn't? What if you could build it all visually?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? How do you build an AI that can manage an entire workflow? Kind of like a project manager directing different specialists on a team. It's a huge challenge. How do you get it to figure out what a user wants, and then send that request to the right expert, all without getting totally lost in endless code?
Well, it looks like OpenAI has a potential answer. And honestly, it's a pretty big one. It's called Agent Builder, and it's all about letting you build these complex AI workflows, not with code, but with your eyes and your mouse.
So what is it exactly? Just think of it like a digital whiteboard. You have these little building blocks called nodes, and you just connect them to map out how you want your AI to think. Each node has a job, and you build the whole thing without touching a single line of code.
The whole promise here really boils down to three things. First, you design it all visually, so it's super intuitive. Second, you can test it right away, on the spot, to see if it works. And third, you can launch it fast, plugging it right into whatever you're building.
Look, the best way to get this is to actually build something. So let's do it. We're going to create a smart travel agent, completely from scratch. And this agent needs to be able to do two different things: help book a flight and create a travel itinerary.
Our game plan is simple, but it's really powerful. First, we need a receptionist, someone to figure out what the user actually wants. That's step one, classify intent. Then, we need a manager to point the request in the right direction. That's step two, branch the logic. And finally, that manager sends the job to the right expert, either our flight specialist or our itinerary specialist.
So, how do we make that receptionist? It's way easier than you think. We just grab what's called an agent node and give it this one simple instruction. We're literally just telling it your only job is to figure out if this is about flight info or an itinerary. And that's it. Job done. Okay, so once our receptionist figures out what's needed, we have to split the path. And for that, we use a simple if-else node. It's literally just a fork in the road. If the answer is flight info, the request goes one way. If it's anything else, it goes the other way. This little node is basically the brains of our whole routing system.
So, let's follow one of those paths. Here, we create our first specialist, the flight agent. And again, the instruction is crystal clear. Recommend a specific flight, and please use airport codes. We also give it a kind of superpower: access to web search, so it can always find the latest flight info.
And down that other path, we've got our itinerary agent. Once again, look how simple the prompt is. Just build a concise itinerary. We don't need a ton of complicated instructions. The model just gets it. And just like that, we've built our team: one classifier and two specialists.
All right, moment of truth. Let's test it out. We ask for a flight, and it works. The workflow figures out what we want, sends it to the flight agent searches the web, and boom, we get the flight details. It's functional for sure, but it's just a block of plain text. We can do way better than this.
And this is where things get really, really cool. We're about to give our agent a serious upgrade, taking its response from just plain text to something way more dynamic and, frankly, way more useful. I mean, think about it for a second. Getting the information is great, but how it's presented, that makes all the difference. What if, instead of just a wall of text, your AI could give you its results in a beautifully designed, interactive way?
The answer to that question is a feature called widgets. Inside Agent Builder, there's a widget studio where you can visually design these custom output formats. So for our little travel agent, we can build a perfect custom widget that's made specifically for showing flight information.
Now here is the absolutely mind-blowing part. We don't have to code the colors or anything. After we design the layout of the widget, we just add this one little phrase to our flight agent's prompt in plain English. We are literally asking the AI to get creative with the design based on where the flight is going. And would you look at that? Here's what happens. When we ask for a flight to Tokyo, the agent doesn't just find the flight and fill out our widget. It actually decides on its own that yellow would be a fitting color for Tokyo, and it makes that the background, all from that one simple instruction. This isn't just AI doing logic. This is AI doing creative work. Okay, so we've designed our agent. We've built in some pretty smart logic. We've even given it a beautiful custom output. Now it's time to actually put this thing to work in the real world. Now, traditionally, getting something like this into an app would look like the stuff on the left. You'd have to manage a whole bunch of complex code using an SDK. But with Agent Builder, it's what you see on the right. You hit Publish, it gives you a single workflow ID, and you just copy and paste that one ID into your product. All that complexity just vanishes.
And that pretty much sums up the whole philosophy here. This isn't just some new feature. It's a totally new way of thinking about how we build AI. It's this all-in-one space where you can take an idea from a visual flowchart to a real-world product faster than ever before.
So that brings us to the real takeaway. Tools like this are putting the incredible power of complex AI into the hands of creators, not just coders. It just opens up a whole world of new possibilities. Which leaves us with one final question for you. If you could build an AI team to solve any problem without writing any code, what would you create?